Stephen A. Smith has spoken about the WNBA should be under investigation.
Is her right to a peaceful workplace a non-hostile work environment? Are those rights being violated? As Kathy Engelbert and Adam Silver, it seems to be nothing to see here. Please move along.
The WNBA has been caught red-handed in what could be the most explosive scandal in professional sports history. And Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is scrambling to save her career as federal investigators circle like vultures around the league's headquarters.
Adam Silver, Kathy Engelbert, you are benign tumors at this point. All right, you refuse to step in and police your own league, and we're watching a social experiment taking place right now on Caitlin Clark.
What we're witnessing isn't just poor leadership or questionable officiating. This is a coordinated campaign against the most talented white player the league has ever seen, and the evidence is so damning that even government officials are demanding justice.
That means that Caitlin Clark is damn me gonna own the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark walked into the WNBA as a record-breaking superstar who should have been treated like basketball royalty. Instead, she became the target of the most vicious, racially motivated hate campaign in modern sports, orchestrated by jealous players, enabled by corrupt officials, and covered up by a commissioner who's proven herself completely unfit to lead America's premier women's basketball league.
There's no world where you can act like that is a basketball play or is part of basketball.
The conspiracy against Clark isn't some wild theory cooked up by angry fans. It's a documented pattern of abuse that's so obvious, so blatant, and so legally actionable that former White House officials are calling for federal intervention. When government insiders start throwing around terms like civil rights violations, you know we've moved far beyond typical sports drama into criminal territory.
Now, if this is true, that it is a secret attack, a secret agenda to attack Caitlin Clark, to pretty much not call her fouls, if the UConn Blue thing is happening for real, this is bad.
Here's what really happened behind the scenes. The moment Caitlin Clark stepped onto a WNBA court, she exposed the mediocrity that had been masquerading as elite basketball for decades. Her talent was so overwhelming, her impact so immediate, and her star power so undeniable that it made every other player look like they belonged in a high school gym.
Caitlin Clark is a supernova, the likes of which we've never seen.
Her game resonates with people that love basketball.
My mom has never cared about sports. She's planning her day and night around this. That's the kind of impact that Caitlin Clark is having.
The establishment couldn't handle being shown up by a rookie, especially one who didn't fit their preferred narrative. The numbers don't lie, even when the league tried to bury them. Clark single-handedly saved the WNBA from irrelevance, driving television ratings through the roof and filling arenas that had been playing to empty seats for years. Without her, the league crashes back to the pathetic viewership numbers that barely registered as a blip on America's sports radar. She became their meal ticket, and they repaid her by turning her into a human punching bag. Sophie Cunningham's explosive revelation that the star player of the league is not being protected wasn't just an observation. It was a whistleblower moment that pulled back the curtain on the WNBA's dirty little secret.
It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do. And I'm a team player, so.
The league's biggest star was being systematically targeted for destruction, and everyone in power was either participating or looking the other way. Clark's own words should haunt every WNBA executive for the rest of their careers. Everybody is physical with me. They get away with things others don't.
Yeah, I think everybody's physical with me. They get away with things that, probably other people don't get away with.
This isn't a player complaining about tough defense. This is documented evidence of discriminatory treatment that would make any civil rights lawyer salivate. When the victim herself is telling you she's being treated differently because of who she is, you've got the foundation for a federal case.
Under civil rights law, race-motivated patterns trigger scrutiny even without explicit discriminatory intent. Systematic missed calls include viral replays of Clark being fouled multiple times in a single possession. Quote, every single one of them is a foul, analyst Rebecca Lobo said.
The targeting wasn't subtle. Clark has been injured multiple times in ways that forced her to miss games, including the All-Star game that millions of fans wanted to see her dominate. Those weren't accidents or unfortunate basketball plays. They were calculated attacks designed to neutralize the league's biggest threat to the established pecking order. Every time she got hurt, every time she missed games, the ratings collapsed and proved exactly who was driving the WNBA's newfound success. A'ja Wilson, supposedly one of the league's most respected voices, dropped the mask completely when she admitted that race is a huge thing in how Clark is being treated.
It goes on to talk about the fact that A'ja Wilson said that these kind of things, she said that race is, quote, a huge thing, and it boils my blood when people say it's not about race, because it is.
There it is, straight from the mouth of a 3-time MVP. This isn't about basketball skill or playing style or personality conflicts. This is about race, and everyone inside the league knows it. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has been exposed as either completely incompetent or willfully complicit in this systematic abuse. Her track record speaks for itself. She's already had to publicly apologize for missing the mark in previous controversial situations, which is corporate speak for admitting she's failed at the most basic requirements of her job. Now she's facing the biggest crisis in league history, and her response has been to hide behind lawyers and hope the problem goes away.
And if I'm Cathy right now, I am nervous for my league.
The Wall Street Journal didn't just publish some fluff piece about sports drama. They published a nuclear bomb of an article that systematically documented the WNBA's civil rights violations against Caitlin Clark. This wasn't opinion journalism or hot takes for clicks. This was America's most credible business newspaper conducting a full investigation into federal crimes and publishing evidence that could be used in criminal court. The Wall Street Journal article laid out the case so methodically, so thoroughly, and with such damning evidence that it essentially served as a prosecutor's roadmap for taking down the entire WNBA leadership structure. When the Wall Street Journal puts their Pulitzer Prize-winning reputation behind accusations of systematic civil rights violations, commissioners don't just update their resumes, they start calling criminal defense attorneys. Stephen A. Smith's declaration that the government might have a case against the WNBA sent shockwaves through the sports world because everyone knows Stephen A. doesn't make casual accusations about federal investigations.
Stephen A. Smith suggests support for federal investigation into the WNBA for treatment of Caitlin Clark. Now, I told y'all, bro. I told y'all this was spooky.
His massive platform reaches millions of viewers who now understand that this controversy has moved far beyond sports into potential criminal territory. The most influential voice in sports media essentially told America that the WNBA might have violated federal civil rights laws. The former White House staffer who called for federal investigation wasn't some random political operative looking for attention. Government officials with that level of experience don't risk their credibility unless they believe serious federal laws have been broken. The fact that someone with insider knowledge of how civil rights investigations work is demanding DOJ involvement tells you everything you need to know about how solid the legal case against the WNBA has become. Here's what a federal civil rights investigation would mean for the WNBA. Complete destruction of their independence, massive financial penalties that could bankrupt the league, criminal charges for individuals involved in the conspiracy, and permanent government oversight that would turn the WNBA into a federally monitored organization. Engelbert's career wouldn't just be over, she'd be lucky to avoid prison time. The economic terrorism against Clark has backfired spectacularly. Every time she's forced to miss games due to targeted injuries, the ratings prove exactly who's driving the WNBA's success. The 55% viewership drop when Clark was absent wasn't just a number, it was concrete evidence that the league was systematically destroying its own golden goose out of pure jealousy and racial resentment. The conspiracy extends beyond individual players to the officiating crew that's been instructed to allow open season on Clark while protecting everyone else. The differential treatment is so obvious that even casual fans can see it happening in real time. When referees consistently ignore flagrant fouls against one player while calling phantom infractions on others, you're not looking at incompetence, you're looking at coordinated discrimination. Engelbert's position has become completely untenable. She can't dismiss the accusations as fan complaints when former government officials are involved. She can't claim ignorance when her own players are going public with the truth. She can't hide behind corporate spin when the Wall Street Journal is publishing investigations into federal crimes. Every day she remains in power, she's providing more evidence for the civil rights case that's building against the league. The WNBA Players Association's suspicious silence speaks volumes about their complicity in this scandal. They're supposed to protect all players equally, but they've been conspicuously absent while their league's biggest star gets brutalized on national television. Their failure to speak up makes them co-conspirators in what could become the biggest civil rights violation in modern sports history. The precedent this case could set would revolutionize how professional sports leagues operate. If federal investigators determined that the WNBA systematically violated Caitlin Clark's civil rights, every league in America would face potential government oversight. The days of sports organizations policing themselves would be over, replaced by federal monitoring that would ensure equal treatment for all athletes regardless of race. Clark's teammates who have spoken out about the targeting aren't just being supportive, they're providing witness testimony that could be crucial in federal court. When players risk their careers to go public with evidence of discrimination, prosecutors know they have credible witnesses who can't be dismissed as biased outsiders. The media coverage has reached a tipping point where mainstream outlets can no longer ignore the scandal. Every major sports platform is now covering the civil rights angle, which means the story has moved beyond the WNBA's ability to control the narrative. Once federal investigation becomes the mainstream media storyline, commissioners don't survive. Engelbert's desperate attempts to manage this crisis have only made things worse. Every corporate non-answer, every deflection, and every failure to take decisive action provides more evidence that the league's leadership is either incompetent or complicit. Federal investigators love nothing more than cover-up attempts that prove consciousness of guilt. The WNBA is facing an extinction-level event that could destroy the league's credibility forever. If they lose Clark to injury, retirement, or legal action, they lose the only thing that made them relevant to mainstream America. If federal investigators find civil rights violations, they lose their independence and potentially their existence as a viable professional sports league. Commissioner Cathy Engelbert's career is hanging by a thread, and that thread is about to be cut by federal investigators who don't care about basketball politics or league relationships. Justice is coming for the WNBA, and everyone involved in the conspiracy against Caitlin Clark is about to find out what happens when you violate someone's civil rights on national television. The financial implications for the WNBA go beyond just losing their star player. Corporate sponsors who poured millions into the league specifically because of Clark's marketability are already privately questioning their investments. Television networks that paid premium rates for WNBA broadcasting rights based on Clark-driven viewership numbers are watching their ratings collapse every time she's targeted off the court. The league's merchandise sales, which skyrocketed thanks to Clark's popularity, have become completely dependent on a player they're systematically trying to destroy. Insurance companies are taking notice too. When your league's most valuable asset keeps getting injured in ways that seem suspiciously intentional, insurance providers start asking uncomfortable questions about whether these incidents represent covered accidents or deliberate targeting that voids their liability. The financial house of cards that Clark built for the WNBA is about to collapse, and Engelbert will be left explaining to investors how she allowed racial animosity to destroy the most profitable period in league history. The countdown to Engelbert's removal has begun, and not even the most expensive lawyers in America can save her from the reckoning that's coming. Subscribe now because this story is about to explode in ways that will change professional sports forever.